Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm Scott McMeans with Action Coach, and I am here today with Matt Olen from Grip Spritz. It's a really cool company, great concept, and I'm excited to introduce Matt to the audience because they're not only a cool company, but they got cool things coming out as they continue some research and development to bring really cool products to the market. With that being said, I don't want to steal your thunder, Matt. So I'm going to turn the microphone and the camera over to you. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit of your story and how'd you get to be sitting in this podcast talking to me right now?
Yeah, first, thank you, Scott. I appreciate you guys having me on, and yeah, excited for this. So basically, Grip Spritz it stops your basketball shoes from slipping and sliding on dusty courts. It's kind of that simple. It evolved from a golf product about a decade ago, probably a little bit longer, when my neighbor came around, invented this spray because he wanted to re-grip his golf clubs, but wanted to do it instantaneously. Did a good run at it for probably 7, 8 years before he ran to me when I was getting out of my car, finishing up college, and said, "Hey, Matt, we're looking to transition this thing into basketball. I know you have played, some facet. I always saw you in your driveway growing up, and lo and behold, next thing you know, we're running the company together. Kind of the most unlikely pairing of a guy in his early 70s and myself. Done that for about five. We're going to start our fifth year here coming up soon. And yeah, like I said, it's just been grow as fast as we can. And we're making a lot of inroads in the right places. And as Scott alluded to, we got some big projects coming up that we think is only going to exponentially grow that growth. And yeah, we're excited to sit here and kind of off a cold LinkedIn DM. Here we are.
I love it.
That's
I
him.
love it. No, I've Matt and I've had conversation before, and what I think is important to bring forward in this discussion is I look for interesting business people in the local business community that I can connect to. And then once I start peeling the onion and investigating the company a little bit, I like to find companies that have something neat to offer the marketplace and a story that needs to be told. And you kind of underplayed a little bit your relationship with the 70-year-old chemist that came up with this really cool idea. And then your introduction to it. So you started off really slow, trying to figure things out. And as you've grown, you've not made a ton of iterations to the product as of yet, but you've made inroads in how to better market the product and get people to pay attention to what you're doing. And what I think is really cool about Grip Spritz is every parent can relate to watching their son or daughter lick their fingers and try to wipe the dust off of their basketball shoes to get that squeaky sound. What you guys have come up with is a really cool way of using a spray and a wiping pad that every player on the team can use. You spray up the pad, you wipe your shoes, dry them off, and you're good to go because now your sneakers or your basketball shoes are clean as a whistle and wet, ready to go. And this translates to a number of different arenas as well. Volleyball, anything inside on a hardwood court, I would. And you said before wrestling. So there's a lot of different avenues you can go. What I want to talk about is just how you have taken a grassroots company from 5 years ago to where you are now, where you're looking for partnerships with NCAA schools. You're looking for partnerships with travel programs. You're going to be doing different things to brand not only them, but your own business so people understand what's going on. So walk us through some of the iterations or the start of where you are in the market right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it would have been early 2019. We sat down in just random AAU tournaments across Northeast Ohio. And we were like, all right, let's just see if this works. And we took this little 2-ounce spray bottle, and like I said, me and a 7-year-old guy sitting in a booth on weekends at third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade basketball games. And when kids were running around in their free time between games, say, hey, come try this out. Let's just spray your shoes, see how it feels on the court. And we did that for 6 months, probably 8 months. Like every weekend we were out there. And but like as you alluded to, guys, a lot of moms came up and said, will this stop my son or daughter from licking their hand and wiping their shoe because it's gross? And we'd say, yeah, it's gonna last a lot longer. It's safe. And before we can even get out our full spiel, they're like, don't care, I want it. Right. So yeah, we did that for, like I said, 8 months. Finally, one day we were sitting down and we had a coach come up to us and said, hey, we use the sticky pad that a lot of teams use. NBA uses it. If you've ever watched a basketball game, college, NBA, you've seen it. And he said, we use this, and we're not, a huge fan of it for a handful of reasons. The shortcoming we're seeing with yours is, one, kids are too lazy to do it. They don't want to spray their shoe and wipe it off. Or kids are doing it at an inopportune time where we're in a timeout and I'm trying to drop a play, but half of my team is taking this bottle and spraying their shoes and not listening to me. Like you got to make it easier. You got to make it less of a hassle for us. So the iteration came is, if you could imagine, like a sponge, right? When you wash a pot or a pan, that soap that's in there, when you push down, it comes out. So Tom, the 7-year-old, was washing dishes and he thought of that kind of concept and brought it to me and said, what do you think about having our solution loaded into a pad that when you step on, solution comes to the top, they can scrub their shoes, dry them, and be a quick 2 steps on each side, and they're into the game. And we were like, yeah, let's run with it. Let's see what we can do. So did that that was the end of 2019, had a patent on it by February of 2020. And then obviously it slowed down a bit. We ended up riding that almost through to getting back, because we knew youth sports were the last thing to come back, right? So we knew it was gonna be a long road to go. So what we did is we just focused on cold outreach, social media, and just getting in front of the right people. So when we came out of this, we were ready to go. And one of the people we ran into was someone that ran something called the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association. And all that is a fancy way of saying they bring college coaches to Columbus, and a ton of coaches, high school coaches from across the state of Ohio, meet up and work on, their zone defense, their pick and roll offense, whatever this coach is talking about, they can implement on their team. On the flip side, there's an exhibitor group where we sit around and get to tell you about our products. So it was like perfect timing. We rolled into there and we're like, all right, let's just see how feasible this is. And as we started talking through, we get 8, 10, 12 coaches who are like, oh yeah, absolutely, I want it right now. At that point, having come through a year and a half of doing nothing, essentially, we were like, all right, like we're ready to go. So we were able to get in a ton of high schools and kind of just start building our credibility there. And then as you do these events, Ohio leads you to Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania leads you to New York, New York takes you to Michigan, and you just start meeting the people in charge of these state associations. Where splash forward today, we're doing about 32 states this year. And that'll be both on athletic director side and high school coaches side. The final iteration of that traction mat came to be, we're sitting down at the Final Four in 2022 in New Orleans, and a lot of coaches came up and they're like, hey, I really like this. And obviously your value prop to them is really different than, we're going to save you $150, and you as the coach aren't peeling off sticky sheets. Like they have an entire equipment staff behind them and millions of dollars. And what they really wanted was branding, and they're like their logo and school colors, school name, everything on this mat. And we knew aesthetically we didn't really have many options with what we currently had. So it was almost a reinvent it, without really caring about price to the end consumer, because so many are colleges. So kind of rebuilt the entire thing with branding around it. That we're going to have that coming out pretty soon. We debuted the first functional prototype at the Final Four here in Cleveland. It was kind of a perfect culmination of events where we were, had kind of the biggest women's sporting event on the basketball side in a long, long time in our backyard. And it was a perfect opportunity for us, working with, all local engineers and everything. So like, it was kind of everyone really proud to see a project come to fruition right there. And then the last iteration we'll have will be a full court mop, same solution. So when we go to these facilities, they can just mop down an entire court with our solution. They don't need to get to the individual players or anything like that. So we're going to be fully built out from team, player, and entire facility. So we can kind of, no matter how you want to clean your court, clean your shoes, we're going to have an option for you.
I think it's amazing. And Matt, believe it or not, you listed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 different lessons that somebody could learn as a new business. And I'm just going to go through them real quick because I think this is really important. There is no such thing as an overnight success. It takes years to make it, which you've proven. By listening to your market, whether it's the parents and the coaches or a combination of both, you find ways to improve your product offering. Just be persistent no matter what happens via COVID. And you network with the right people. In other words, go to where your market is, right? There's the old adage, if you're going to hunt moose, don't go to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, right? You got to go where your customers are. And you got to know your value proposition, right? Your initial value proposition was licking fingers, that's gross, to all of a sudden, I just don't want my kids to be distracted when I'm trying to put in a play. And let's get the players back out there as quickly as possible. And then now it's changed over to branding. And the ingenuity to go from just cleaning one shoe at a time to cleaning the entire court to make sure there is no dust. I see the iterations. And what I want people that are in the audience to listen and really learn from this is no matter what your initial idea is, it always can be built upon and be improved to match what the market is asking you for. And you've done an amazing job of hitting on 5, 6, 7 different learning points that somebody that has a business could really pay attention to. So I appreciate that. What are
Yeah,
some of the biggest? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the biggest thing for us there has always just been like listening to the customer. Like they're gonna tell you everything you want to know. We built out our pad, right? When these coaches came, we had 5, 6, 7 at the one tournament we were at where they kind of initially said, hey, you guys should think about this. Probably had 10, 12 coaches we asked about, hey, you use the competitor, the only competitor that was in the market. What do you like? What do you dislike?
Mm-hmm.
When that wrapped up, who do you think our first 10 to 12 customers were? The ones that felt responsible for building it. Because you
Exactly
could
right.
say, hey, look, you told us what you wanted. Here it is. And they're just like, oh my God, it's the coolest thing ever. Same thing happened with the branding side. I can tell you the exact school, college coach in New Orleans who walked me through what he wanted to look like. And then I saw him again at the Final Four in 2024. And I said, hey, look, you helped us build this.
Perfect.
He's
Ah,
not only going to buy it, he's going to tell all of his coaching friends, hey, I helped do this. And he'd be
yeah.
right.
And
He'd be right.
though there's the old adage too, and I think you touched on it, is when you listen to what people want, you find out what they need, and that's what you give them, right? It's not always giving them the moon and the stars because that's what they asked for. It's understanding them, listening to them, and really peeling the onion back on each scenario and finding out, okay, you want this, but you don't need that. So you pigeonhole yourself down. Okay, this is the product they're asking for. And then the best part about it, what I like of what you do is you go back to those same people and say, I want to confirm this is what you're looking for.
We let them
This
test
is
it.
what you want,
That they're
right?
our first prototype test. They're the first marketing, pool. They do it, and then they come back and they might get a prototype for free that they can run around. And like I said, that's another thing too is that when they're using that, not only did they help create it in a sense, when they're using that on their Tuesdays and Friday games here in Ohio, and it looks nothing like what they've been using, every coach is going to say,
What are you
"What is that?" And then they're going to say, "Look,
doing?
I told them what we wanted, and they made it for us."
Yeah. And what I think is interesting too, in a world of competitive sports, no matter if they're 9-year-old kids or 19-year-old college kids, right? Every coach recognizes, hey, there's something different on their sideline. What are they doing? I need to figure
Competitive
out
advantage.
how we bring
Everyone
it in.
wants it.
Yeah. Well, that's good though, because that's your value proposition, though, right? In addition to the benefit of clean shoes and the security that comes with that, it's branding, it's competitive advantage. There's so much more to it than just spray the bottom of your shoe and this is what happens, right? There's a value proposition that exceeds what a product does. And I think once a company like yours identifies that, there's so much more opportunity to prove your value because people see so much more than just oh, it's stuff in a spray bottle. No, 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 no. I'm not buying a drill bit. I'm buying the whole. I'm not buying that spray bottle. I'm buying everything that comes with it, right? And I think the competitive nature of where you are as far as a market, everybody wants that competitive advantage. So you're tapped into something pretty cool. So here's a question about lessons learned. Like, what are some of the biggest aha moments as a leader of an organization like yours that makes you, I wouldn't say proud, but like, yeah, we figured that out and we came over on the other top more successful than when we started with that challenge or that lesson I needed to learn. What would you say, Matt, that is?
Yeah, I think there's a few. I think two of the bigger ones were, I would say, collectively as a team. When we set out to kind of redesign our traction mat, we had an idea of what that exterior shell would look like, and we weren't sure of cost or really where to begin with it, right? Like the one that kind of started the product, about a decade ago, a little over, he has a really, really good engineering mind. But, kind of being able to mock up a wooden prototype versus and knowing what to do that, this is going to be a vacuum formed piece or, injection molded, things like that. There's
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, and then there's bringing the actual thing to market at mass quantity. And I think, we knew that it was going to be a very capital heavy expenditure. And it was really cool to be able to we're about 99% of the way there. without incurring any debt. Like we were very, very smart about
Wow.
how we did this. And I think the three of us are really proud of that, to be able to say, like, if you would have told us 3 years ago that you will have the war chest financially to bring this new thing to market that, we think is our ticket to the highest level of the sport in
Hmm.
a few short months without really taking on debt, like you're like, wow, like we figured something out, and we
Yeah.
sold some products somewhere to do this. So I think being able to work through that process of something that none of us have really done, like Tom knew the steps it took to get there, but he had never done, he was a welder. He had never brought a physical, manufactured product to market like that. And God knows I haven't either. Not my forte, but we were saying, like, to get all that done kind of as a team, and like no one really lost their head. We all kind of had our space that we knew we had to operate in and things we had to get done. It was kind of our coolest moment on that side. Um, Flip side, I guess, for me personally, um, obviously it's always a little different when you're at that time, 24 years old. When we first got
Hmm.
started, and the two guys that I'm working with are 50s and 60s. You always kind of felt like you had to, prove yourself that, you kind of know what you're talking about. And I remember there's a group we actually partner with to this day. They're a really big international camp in Southern California. And name's Joe Keller, Phenom Basketball. And I don't know how we got in touch, but I'm on the phone with him, and he's like, "Hey, I think we use your competitor, this sticky pad, but because I like the individual side for the players. I think you guys could really, really do something here with all these kids that we have here. And we have kids at that point. If you're a basketball fan, you're gonna know some of these names that have been at their camp. Evan Mobley from here in Cleveland, Zion Williamson, John Morant, Trey Young. All these people are products of their camp. Kelsey Plum on the women's side. All these are products of their camp.
That's some
And
pretty good names. Yeah.
yeah, they have about 75 NBA alumni just in their camp, and they've been around. They just did their 25th year anniversary. So, they've been doing it, and San Diego, LA area, and they said, hey, I think you guys would do really, really well here. And they said, it looks like you guys are pretty big company. At this point, this was 2022, so we were not big at all. We had barely into this game. And they said, here's what a sponsorship package would look like. And it wasn't even, the number wasn't right. There were too many numbers in that number. And I went back to them like, hey, look, I think this is an awesome opportunity for us. I think XYZ, right? I think we have to do this. And they were pretty much just like, no, it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, I'm telling you, we got to do this. And I'm back and forth, like trying to get him to a number that makes sense for us, trying to get them to meet me at a number that makes sense, like back and forth in like, the 24th hour, right? Like they had to get these things done because I think it was like June and this event's in early July. And ended up, I talked my team into it, and they basically said, "Hey, we'll do it, right? But if this goes south, you're at the where like at that point we weren't quite doing AAU tournaments every weekend like we previously had been. Our time was being spent other places, and they said, you're going to be at these tournaments at 8 in the morning, an hour away from home, if you got
Yeah.
to make this money up." And I mean, I think it says volumes to this day. We just signed a new contract with them. They actually are expanding now into, it was a 1 weekend
I love
event,
it.
and it was two. It's going to be a full month, 4 weekends this year, where they have players coming in from 15 different countries, 20 different countries, every state, and high level athletes that are coming in, and we're one of their main partners there. And it's a really good event for us. So I said it was one of those
That's
things.
fan.
I wanted to prove
No,
myself a
dude.
little bit and be like, I know what this is. And yeah, we all look back on that finally now. We're like, all right, it wasn't quite such a bad choice, but it really worked out well.
There's a couple things, Matt, I really want to make sure people understand. The first, I'm going to use the word trust times two. What I mean by that is trust in your own conviction that, yes, this is the right thing to do. Trust in the relationship you have with your business partners, that they trust you enough that you are so passionate and so committed to this that they say, you know what, we trust you. Let's move forward. And you took a risk as a company to go and do that, but the opportunity equaled itself. So all these things come into play, that through communication and trust within your team, you can go after something you trust passionately because you know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I
Now,
think it returns
it
it to
worked
like
out.
twofold. I would say it returns like twofold too, because then down the road, they're like, okay, like, 'cause I don't know how many marketing people they had before me in the 10 years leading up to it. I know they said they had a handful. So again, like, why should you trust me? But I think at the same time, then they bought in.
Mhm.
When we got down the road where we're doing this new mat, when Tom says something like, oh, hey, I know the vacuum forming market, like, we got to look for XYZ in a manufacturer. At that point, you're like, all right, they trust me, I'm gonna trust them right back. Like that,
Yes.
basketball was my forte. I was the youth basketball when I knew what we were talking about. They're on that side. Like, I just trust them. Like, they put the trust in me, it's right back.
I think it's brilliant, and that's what I think most people fail to recognize: the culture of an organization, the communication methodology, or the trust factor. Most people get really siloed, and they get very uncomfortable when somebody challenges them or brings something that pulls them out of their comfort zone. And what I love about the story is there's so much discomfort in what you do as a startup business that you have to be incredibly comfortable being uncomfortable. I've talked to so many different business owners, and they all say the same thing. It's just part of the process. And once you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you can move forward. And there's so many great things here. So I want to ask you, we talked earlier about the competition, and there's a difference between, again, licking your hands and wiping your
Right.
shoes. There's a difference between other solutions that are out on the marketplace. So what is it that's so special about your solution and the methodology, the process that you work with, from the spray to the pads? Like, what's so different and unique about what you do? Because I want people to understand your value proposition
Yeah,
just on the
yeah.
product. In addition,
So
because we already talked, there's so many other things about your value proposition that make sense. I want people to understand the product itself. So
yeah.
tell me a little bit about that.
So it's twofold. So on the team side, the traction mat, we really still only have one main competitor, in this. And like I said, I alluded to them. They're the sticky pad. They've been around longer than I've been alive.
Mm.
Um, and what their process is you step on a piece of adhesive tape, takes the dust and dirt off the bottom of your shoes, and then you go on the court. What coaches, that was what was out there when we were told we don't like XYZ about this product. What can you do to alleviate some of these pain points? And those things were, let's say a player goes to tear off a sheet. They want a new sheet. Because after two or three players step on this thing, it's covered in dust a little bit. That third, fourth player, you're not really going to get the same results because it's covered up with the previous player's dust and dirt. So if the players are doing it, if you're not really familiar with these things, they're really hard to grab the top sheet if you've never used it before. And these sheets are very
Mm.
expensive. This entire product is about $300, give or take, for a season of games. Ours is $150 for all your games and practices. So we were already kind of about half the price. A lot of that became that we weren't a plastic board, that we weren't plastic adhesive sheets. It adds up pretty quickly. But if you're a player and you go to tear one of those things off, having never used it before, you can accidentally tear off 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sheets at one time. And each
Ooh,
of those is a couple dollars worth. So, if you're at a public high school, like, your budget is really, really tight. And you're not going to be able to keep going back and buying these things. Like, once you spend your budget, you spent it. Um, so what we want to make sure is a player could do this. If they pour too much, pour too little, you're not gonna
right.
ruin a bunch of it, right? And then for coaches, so if you're a coach and you say, we can't have the players doing this, coaches then are stuck an entire basketball game while you're trying to coach, peeling these sheets off because the kid who never plays is bugging you after a timeout. Hey, you got to get a new one. I need to get my shoes done. Like, it's like an extra step for you that you shouldn't have to do. And then just like little things, right? You play on a dusty court, and your shoes touch something sticky, you're going to go back on that same dusty court. It's not going to be a real elongated effect, right? So what we want to do is kind of build out an easier way that coaches have no in-game maintenance. It's less expensive. There's zero plastic waste, because that's another thing that too. When you're ripping off 10, 12 sheets a game,
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere.
uh, extrapolate that across an entire country, and it's a lot of plastic waste. Um, so those are kind of things we look to eliminate. And thankfully, we already had the solution that we knew would last them because it has no adhesives. You're kind of already solving that problem just by what we already had in existence. So what ours is, like I said, like a sponge. Step on it, dry it on the court, and then it's going to evaporate that mat. It's a high density foam. You fold it up, put it in the bag, and you're not going to have to worry about it again until the next game or the next practice. So that's on the
Such
team.
a
On
That's
the
such a cool concept.
it's
I
and,
think it's
and
amazing.
the solution is the same solution that we're going to put on the mop that's going to clean the full court. That's going to go in, our traction mat that's in the 2-ounce bottle. Just think of it as a different applicator. On the 2-ounce bottle side, again, one of those things, just dumb luck, I guess, because we started in golf, it had to be safe to the touch. It
Mm,
had to be, and you're on rubber, so you couldn't have any alcohol in it that would dry it out. Just because those two things don't really mix that well, you're going to deteriorate the rubber, right? So it just ended up working where you went into a youth athletic side where just by it being on your hands and being on your rubber clubs, it was already kind of safe to the touch, safe for the material, just was going on a different form of rubber, right? Just going on the bottom of shoes. So that was the same exact process. You just spray the shoe, wipe it off, and you were good to go. And the big thing we focused on is, not that we were kind of really one of the first movers on that individual side, because if you think about it, no team, even ours, right, that's a little less expensive, no player is going to carry around what's meant for a team. Our
yeah.
competitor weighs about 8 pounds, ours is about 3. It comes in a bag. Like no kid's going to walk in with a full tote bag of all this stuff and lay it down and just use it for themselves. They want to individualize. And with the way basketball is going with trainers and camps and AAU and high school, you're playing in a million different gyms where every gym's one going to be a little different, and you're going to be relying on every single coach or facility to provide you something for your shoes. So for us was let's individualize this. Take this bottle. You can put in your backpack. You're playing, here on Tuesday, but that gym on Wednesday. But then you're playing pickup that night with your friends. This one thing goes with you. It's small enough you can take it on an airplane. You can do whatever you want with it, and it would still give you the same result. So that was kind of ours, was just shatter the need for a coach or a team to provide you this, make it individualized for the player, make it safe for the player, safe for the shoes, and don't break the
Yeah.
bank, because if you made it too expensive, mom and dad are going to say, well, let's just buy you new shoes.
Well, and that's an interesting point. I think when we talked earlier, it was, when you've got $200 plus invested in somebody's basketball shoes, you don't want to use a spray or a product that's going to break them down and make them not as functional or not as pliable or whatever, tacky. Using your stuff compared to a knockoff version with alcohol, that's going to destroy or at least break down the rubber differently than what you guys do. So, in addition to being a cost savings to what's in the market now, you are cost prohibitive for those people that want to use your product because you're not going to destroy the
Yeah,
shoe that it's being sprayed on or being used on. That's a big piece.
that was another thing in the value set that we said we really looked at, was like, maybe you're a kid who can get new shoes 2 times a year. You can get them for your high school season, you can get them for AAU season. Like
Yeah.
we always have kids that comment on our TikToks and, oh, just buy new shoes. And I always tell them, like, if you got it like that, great.
Yeah.
There are kids who do not. There are families who do not. There are families who are wearing the same shoes 3 seasons, or they're playing on dusty courts that aren't well kept because they don't have the funds in the school to clean that court over and over and over again. And
Mhm.
they're running the assembly in there right into a dance, into something else where kids are traipsing dust and dirt, gym class, everything, and they're not cleaning these courts. $14, $14.95 for an individual bottle. It's going to last you 4 months. Like those kids, those families are like perfect. Like
It's a season.
every kid comes back to their parents when they play on a dusty court and they go, my shoes don't have a grip anymore. I need a new pair. Like, no, they're just
Yeah.
not cleaning the court. And you as a player are not going to go out there and clean the court. So what's the next best thing you can do without breaking the bank?
Yeah. Clean your shoes. I appreciate the conversation. I want to ask you, what is it that you would give as the best advice for a business owner? What
This
would
is
you say to somebody?
my favorite one. We touched on it earlier when you said, we're not an overnight success. And one day, however many years from now, someone's going to look and be like, man, those guys were an overnight success, right? They're not going to see the 10 years we put in behind it, right? And I always said about this. I heard it on a podcast one time. He said, being a business owner is like entering a contest in New York City, right? You're in New York City, you pick up Wall Street Journal. It says, come down to Yankee Stadium, hit a home run off our all-star pitcher, and you win the prize. Prize can be whatever you want. It could be, beautiful wife, money, whatever, eternal happiness, whatever. It can be whatever. All you got to do is hit a home run, right? So they said people are going to get in there and they're going to swing the bat one time. And the entire stadium is going to laugh because they're going to look foolish because this guy just threw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball at their chin and they swung. And they're going to put the bat down. A couple people are going to get out of line straight then and there. They say, I'm never going to ever hit that. I'm not wasting my time. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I am the person that picks up the bat and I swing and everyone laughs. And I swing again and again and again and again. And I'm going to do that 6 dozen times until the entire crowd is booing me and telling me, put the bat down, let someone else have a chance. No one else having a chance. I'm going to swing the bat, and eventually that pitcher is going to get tired. He is going to miss, or I'm going to get sheer dumb luck and swing the bat on the right plane and hit a home run.
There it is.
And I'm gonna hit that home run, and I'm gonna tell you what, the next day, no one's gonna say I swung the bat 300 times. No one's gonna say they laughed. No one's gonna say they booed me. No one's gonna say that. The Wall Street Journal is gonna say Matt won the prize. And everyone in the stands is gonna say, dude, I knew Matt. I watched him do it. The same people that were booing, same people that were laughing, same people that didn't cheer for you, they're gonna do it. Just keep going, no matter what people say to you, no matter how hard it is. It will happen if you put in the hard work and you just don't quit. It'll happen.
Love that. Just keep swinging. Just keep swinging. There's no other way to do it.
Right. You will learn. Like you will learn, oh, hey, like that was a really bad swing. He's going to break the curveball off when he looks like that. You will learn. And in 10 swings, you're going to say, all right, now I know when the curveball, when the fastball's coming. I know when it's coming off speed. You're going to sit there and wait. And eventually you're going to pick up all this knowledge, all this stuff. You'll be impossible to beat.
Impossible to beat. I love it. Matt, I want to thank you for your time. This has been incredibly educational. I can't believe we're already 30 minutes plus in. So we're gonna stop it here. And all the information to get a hold of Matt, get a hold of Grip Spritz, it's all going to be in the description down below. So you can click and find all the information you need. And I want everyone to go on and check it out and buy as much as they possibly can. So
Appreciate it, Scott.
now my pleasure, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.